Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. Just a quick reminder to everyone out there, I am still answering questions in my last special edition video where it's called Ask Your Questions Here and I'll answer them. It's still something that's ongoing, so if you have any burning questions, anything you wanted to ask, post those there. Just specifically please in that video. That's the one that I'm answering and responding everything that I can to, and then I will make sure I'll get back and I'll finish it probably around sometime next week, so that way I can allow an extra week for that. I won't answer all questions, but I'll try to answer most of them for you, so that way again, any burning questions, list them there. So another entry here for the urban legend side. I'm probably going to do one more after this one, and then that'll wrap up this series this go around, and then I'll focus on the cryptids and monsters series, so be on the lookout for that. This particular urban legend is a pretty cool one. Never heard of this one before, but it actually ties into a real life phenomenon of sorts that probably everyone has experienced here. Well, in Japanese mythology, that experience, they've actually created an urban legend tied to it. So I don't know how far back this urban legend goes, but at least according to them, they in some cases truly believe that this is the case. And it's the urban legend known as the Kamaitachi, or in other words known as the Scythe Weasel, which you're looking at a picture of here. So this is a pretty localized urban legend of sorts. It's one that's gone back who knows how many hundreds of years, and it goes like this. I'll start off with a question for everyone here. I'm sure those of you that have, I guess, wandered around and then gone into nature specifically, maybe even to some remote locations, have you ever encountered that sudden gust of wind, or in some cases a continuous gust of wind, that's so fast, that's so sharp, that it seems like almost like it's biting, like it's that biting wind of sorts, where you think to yourself, man, this is some tough stuff. And then sometimes when you get hit, especially like let's say with blades of grass, or if you get hit with small rocks or whatever, the pebbles or whatever is being blown about by the wind, when that happens, you actually get hurt a little bit. Well, in Japanese mythology, the Kamaitachi, the idea is that what's causing those are apparently some weasels that happen to be riding those winds, but they have very distinct characteristics. And based on the urban legend, they either ride these winds, I guess, to feed off of people, and that's why you have the pain associated with those very, very strong gusts of winds. And other times they're just riding around, I guess, just creating some kind of mayhem of some sort. But that's the idea, that anytime you're in an area there and you happen to be suddenly hit with a strong, very strong gust of wind, that biting wind that I was mentioning earlier, and you feel like a little bit of discomfort and pain, and you look and you realize that you have some scratches on you, that's actually from these creatures themselves. Now, as far as and how these weasels look like, they look like what you're seeing here. They're basically almost like anthropomorphic weasels, just human-like weasels that happen to have, in some cases, either hands completely made out of scythes, or they have, in this case, like their hands like our regular hands, but they happen to hold some kind of very sharp object in them. And the idea is also that there's usually 3 of them riding around within these winds. Now, as far as the people thinking, well, if they truly are riding these winds, then why can't we see them? Because if they're supposed to be the size of a weasel, no matter how fast this wind is going, you would definitely see them. Well, apparently these weasels are invisible. They do not have any kind of spectrum or something where you can see them riding that wind, but there they are, and they're supposed to come about and then utilize, I don't know what they do, but they force the winds to go in the direction of people, especially people that happen to be by themselves, and then that wind descends upon them and then they get to work. So if you follow that logic, then you go by the sense that that's how they feed, because what happens is the first weasel hits whatever, I guess, the person, wherever the person is, hits them pretty hard and pretty fast, and then that way they're somewhat incapacitated, and in some cases actually knocking them down. Then the second weasel is also just riding behind that gust of wind, uses its hands, again made out of those scythes, or uses the actual weapons themselves, and then cuts into the flesh of the victim. And then the third weasel, in this case, once everything is finished, because by that point all of them are feasting on your wounds, the third weasel is supposed to apply some kind of medication on the actual wound itself, so that way by the time you as a person realize in those brief seconds, man, that was a strong gust of wind. You never realize that it was actually these weasels acting very, very quickly, feeding off of your wounds, in this case off of the blood, and then leaving just as fast. And then the reason why in most cases you don't see blood itself is because they try to hide everything that they do, so that way people don't realize that it's them feeding on you. So kind of it's crazy, isn't it? It's one of those urban legends that is just really out there, but it has stayed in that Japanese mythology for a long, long time. There's even the idea that these weasels, they are either as, I guess, brothers. Who knows if they've been living just for the longest time together, or they're actually, some cases, like triplets. Like they are, again, related to the very same family, but they just happen to be able to just live together for all this time, and they are completely related to one another. It doesn't just end with people too. There's the idea that these weasels, sometimes they actually attack and feed on actual cattle or any other type of farm animal that's there in that area too. And in those cases, they are said to actually kill the horses or cattle or any other type of farm animal, because in that case they're not going to meet much resistance from, let's say, instead of ordinarily attacking a human, because a human can obviously defend themselves and realize that something else is going on. But with here, then these weasels, whenever they find a lone animal of some sort, then that's when they can take their time and actually kill these things. There are ways that you can protect yourself from these weasels. Is apparently you don't ride along any kind of road at night. You want to make sure that if you're going to be traveling somewhere, you're traveling in groups, because apparently these weasels do not tend to attack like groups together. Also, if you wanted to protect your cattle, if you wanted to protect the animal farms that you have, you cover the eyes of the horses and the cattle themselves. I don't know exactly how that stops the weasels from attacking the actual location, but apparently that works too. There's even some remedies too, because it's considered, I guess, somewhat of a, not necessarily a curse, but it's considered like a bad omen of sorts if you happen to have something like this attacking you. I was reading somewhere where the idea is, in order to make sure that you're cured of this attack thereafter, you're supposed to take some kind of calendar of some sort and then burn it on the actual wound itself. I don't know why there has to be a calendar as opposed to something else, like, let's say, a regular piece of paper or something else like a plant, or something else that would make more sense. But the idea is, when you do that, then that's when you're supposed to cure yourself of this thing. So pretty interesting stuff with regards to this urban legend. Has anyone else heard any more information about the Kamaitachi, or in this case the sky weasels? If so, please post those comments below. It'd be interesting to hear. Obviously there's no, like, let's say, physical proof of them that I found. Nothing in terms of photographs, let alone any kind of videos. This is just one of those things apparently that people believe in there in Japanese mythology with regards to those biting winds. But again, if anyone has any more information related to them, that would be really great to hear. So alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.